Welcome back, Big Blue Nation, to yet another winning episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston. This is your host, Jacob Boyers. Jacob, the Cats get to 17-7, take down Tennessee once again, get the sweep on the year. This team's injury-riddled, continues to find ways to win, 75-64 at Rupp Arena. Took a bunch of guys to add in, help out in this game. I don't even know what to start with in this game. There were so many takeaways going from it. Give me one of your big takeaways before we start diving into the box score here.
I mean, my big takeaway is all Mark Pope does, it seems like, is just beat top 10 teams and, gets the real unexpected wins. I mean, there was a lot in this game that, if you just told me beforehand, obviously I don't think they win, but, just a gritty win. That point in the second half, Tennessee had all the momentum. Lamont goes out and you blow a, whatever, 11, 12-point lead, whatever it got to. And all things considered, you think they're going to lose it. Shout out to DraftKings for making Kentucky plus 250 when they went down 3 in the second half because we both smacked that. So, yeah, but I mean, hats off to this team, man. Down to no point guards, and your emergency point guard and Jackson Robinson's not playing, and you come out and find a way to score enough down the stretch and take care of business.
Yeah, continue to be impressed by how resilient this team is. Injury after injury, it always seems like if somebody's not available, they're either not full go. Like, I'm still not sure Andrew Carr is full go.
He's not.
I mean, you saw him. He only played 19 minutes in this game. Didn't look anything like his normal self. Only had 2 points in this game. But just the resiliency from this team, especially against a top 5 team who theoretically is supposed to be a bad matchup for you, and you find a way to win in Rupp Arena. A lot of guys had parts to do with that. We got a big bucket from a guy who just hasn't been playing well as of late, Ansley Almanor. How about that and one at such a crucial time? He had 13 points, only gave you a rebound and really nothing else outside of scoring, but that's just kind of what you need from Ansley at this point in the season. 22 minutes, 4 of 5 shooting, and 2 of 3 from 3. And, I tell you what, I told you in the moment, if there's a guy I want shooting free throws for this team, it's Ansley Almanor, 3 for 3 from the line. And he just made big baskets down the stretch.
Yeah, and I mean, they did kind of exactly what we were talking about Monday night. I said it's going to have to be a very well-balanced team effort, and you're going to need essentially everybody to play well. I know we'll dive into each player, but I thought really outside of maybe like Brandon Garrison, who still had a couple decent moments, I thought everybody played really well and to their full potential, and everybody gave you something. But yeah, Ansley was obviously huge. That and one, that was right after I went back and bet him. Right as we dropped down to 3, he gets a and one, and that lead was gone, and the Cats took control of it again and held on. And he had a huge 3 there in the second half that should have been a 4-point play. I can't believe they didn't call that one. But I mean, just everybody, man, just everybody contributed. Like, sounds crazy to say, but like I really do feel that way. And I mean, obviously, Kobe Brea, you're down to no point guards. He's pretty much running, him and Omari are running point down the stretch. And, Kobe creating his own threes, man. Like, give me more of that for the rest of the year. I don't care if Jackson and Lamont come back and play healthy. Like, I want Kobe taking as many shots as possible. And to be able to have that little step back, I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and talk about Kobe Brea's stat line for the game. I mean, only had 11 points, but man, 3 of 6 from the 3-point line. And like you mentioned, every single one of those threes were huge.
Yep.
Right when we couldn't get any offense, Tennessee goes on that big run. Lamont's out. Who's going to step up? It's Kobe Brea with 2 step-back threes. And I don't know about you. Normally when you see a pump fake step back from Kobe Brea so far this season, that's been where he struggled. Usually it's those open catch-and-shoot threes that he's been knocking down. This is the first time I've really been able to see him do it off the dribble and create his own 3. It was great to see, and we really needed it at the time because we were searching for offense.
Yeah, he only had 6 points in the second half, but it was both of those threes that really kind of put the game away. And then I've watched that no-look lob. I'm not kidding you, at least 1,000 times today. I can't get on Twitter and not watch it 15 times in a row before I go to the next post. So I've seen it from every angle, and I love it at every angle I've seen it. But yeah, he just absolutely huge down the stretch, and like to take those step back threes in those moments. Jackson's not out there. You don't have all your offense, and Kobe just to step back and knock it down. I couldn't be more thrilled with really just how everybody played, but especially him.
Yeah, and something we've been talking about Kobe is when he's not giving you that volume scoring or that volume shooting, he needs to add in other things because especially he is a big guard. This game, I mean, he gave you 2 assists and 2 steals and really played
Yes,
solid on the
big
defensive side
steal
of the
too.
ball. Yeah,
Yeah.
big steal. I mean, he really affected this game outside of really getting rebounds. Kobe Bryant, I think, really almost stepped up and I mean, not almost stepped up. He stepped up and was the point guard down the stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, and you had to, and I mean, credit to Pope too. I don't know how he does it, but like in games, he's finding ways to, again, you're down without your two actual point guards on the team, and then the other guard that you kind of divvy out some ball handling, assignments to doesn't play either, and you still find a way to go, whatever 8 or 9 minutes since Lamont got hurt and close that game out. And Pope, I mean, there's been some games where we've kind of criticized him this year, but I'll tell you, probably his two best coaching jobs have come against Rick Barnes. He has just coached
Yep.
circles around him, and it was obvious Rick Barnes wasn't going to shoot 40 something threes again, but they still sagged off so much and forced a lot of long twos, and outside of Igor, they didn't make a single three, so they shot a worse percentage, only taking 18 this time. So Pope knows how to defend this Tennessee team.
We kept talking about how this is a bad matchup for the Cats. I kind of think this is just a bad matchup for Tennessee.
Yeah.
If you think about it, even on a bad offensive night without 2 point guards and your emergency point guard, you put up 75 points in a game. And I don't think Tennessee's winning too many games where they give up 75. I think it shows you in this because obviously we're not a good defensive team and they were only able to score 64. I mean, they shot 43% from the field and 16% from three. So, I mean, you see this team is going to have trouble scoring. Tennessee going down the line, when they get into March, they're going to have to keep guys in the 50s to feel comfortable winning games.
Yeah, I mean, you had what? You had Gainey, Ziegler, and Lanier combined for what were they? 0 for 13 from behind the arc. Like, they're obviously not a very good shooting team to begin with, but again, like Pope, kind of the same thing as we said in Knoxville. Like, if they come out, shoot the lights out, you just shake their hand and move on. But like, the odds are that they're not. And you saw it. Ziegler was only effective when he could kind of when he would switch and get a Travis Perry on him and be able to get to the rim. And part of that was my frustration with BG. There was a couple times I felt like he could have made life a little more difficult around the rim, and he just chose not to. But regardless, and then Chaz Lanier, that's a guy that if you would have told me before coming into both of these matchups, I would have thought he would have killed us in both. Like that big kind of wing player, those are the guys that give us fits, and both times we've just held him in check, and he's pretty much been a non-factor.
I mean, Chaz Lanier is averaging almost 18 points a game and shooting over 35% from three. And in both games against Kentucky, I mean, neither one of those numbers were even close.
Yep.
And obviously, came down to him and Jackson Robinson coming to Kentucky. Obviously, I think we wanted both and we went after both, but we were just able to get Jackson. Obviously, it looks like so far, Tennessee, I think, is good with their choice. We're good with our choice. But at least in the matchup against each other, it seems like Jackson's won that one, even though he didn't get to play in this game. Let's go ahead and talk about, Amari, first game in a while. It seems like he wasn't as big of a factor as he has been. Basically, since that Georgia game, he's been so consistent as of late. Got into early foul trouble, picked up that offensive foul early in the first half, and really just never got in the sync of the game. 6 points, 3 rebounds on 3 of 5 shooting. Did have that big and one down the stretch. Obviously didn't make the free throw, but a huge play late in the game.
Yeah, I thought another solid game from Amari without really filling up the box score. Only got to play 21 minutes. Part of that was foul trouble. Part of it, second half, I thought we rode with Garrison a little too long at times. But yeah, to your point, he just never could really get back into kind of the flow of the game. And I mean, Cam, if I told you coming into the game that he would have 6 points, 3 rebounds, you probably think there's no chance in hell this team's winning.
If you told me Amari had 3 rebounds in this game, I think we lose by 35.
Yeah, you would think Tennessee is just killing us on the glass.
Yeah,
but,
which they really did. I mean, even in this game, they out-rebounded us by 7. It just seemed to not necessarily matter. I mean, with how bad almost the exact same thing as the first game in Knoxville. We struggled to score the last 5 minutes of the half at the end of the game, and Tennessee kept getting offensive rebounds and second chances. You saw that in this game. So they just weren't able to make shots. Obviously, we play better shooting teams. We're going to play Bama here coming up soon. We're going to have to get some of those rebounds because I don't know if everybody's going to shoot, 16% from three like Tennessee did.
Yeah, but again, I just think Amari does so much that doesn't show up in the box score too. I mean, he was plus 16 in this game, and that was without really having a dominant presence on either the glass or the or the scoring. But late in the game, I mean, he's bringing the ball up, having to be the point guard because you're down so many guys, and I thought especially down the stretch he was really good.
Yeah, Amari continues to be consistent, and obviously, I think this is my transition every single week to talk about Otega Owe. It's just consistency. How about Otega? Just consistent. 4 of 11 when he was in Knoxville against Tennessee. In this game at Rupp Arena, 4 of 11 in this game. Obviously not the most, efficient game. Did hit a nice 3, 4-6 from the line. Like to see that go up a little bit. But 6 rebounds and 13 points. I mean, Otega was your leading rebounder in this game and got some big traffic rebounds, especially down the stretch.
Absolutely. Just another solid game from Otega Owe. I felt like the last 2 he's been much better at, not forcing anything. He's 10 shots against South Carolina, only, took 14 here. Just when he's playing within the offense, he can be so good. And it was nice to see him, shoot a 3, make it, have some confidence in there. Really should have had 2 more points, and then they go back and take that off at halftime. And that's a rant for another day. Of just unbelievable. A basket with 5 minutes to go and a half, and you come back and take it off as the teams are running back on the floor. It's mind-boggling. But anyway, just so consistent. He's back when he's engaged on defense. He's a really good defender, and I think that's what had us so frustrated about Ole Miss and the couple games leading up to it. Like when he's engaged, he can be out there, and especially with Lamont, you can have 2 really, really good perimeter D guys. You just got to get him to kind of be engaged, and if he's like this the rest of the season, I feel confident.
When he's locked in on the defensive side of the ball, it's really just a different team. I think a lot of people, just put that singly on Lamont, and obviously Lamont does change his defense, and we'll talk about him here soon. But Otega does too. Like you've mentioned, his ability to jump passing lanes. We not a very athletic team. He probably is our most athletic player on the team. Was able to get 2 block shots in this game as well. When you see he's engaged and, giving his all on the defense side of the ball, it's a completely different defense in general because we don't really have that shot blocker down low to erase shots and erase penetration. I think you're probably going to talk about that when we talk about Brandon Garrison a little bit later. And it's good to see, and finally be able to stay in front of guys. Like you mentioned, when Zakai Ziegler did score and when Chaz Lanier scored, it wasn't really on Otega. It was more of when Trent Noah came in and Travis Perry especially were in, in the middle stretch of the game. Yeah, but obviously, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, that one block was absolutely disgusting. Like, that was just pure athleticism, pinning that against the backboard. Like, the guy makes plays every few games where you're like, jaw's just kind of on the floor, and that was one of them. That block had, you saw me last night. I was juiced up for it.
Yeah, and it's crazy. He'll have one of those, and then you'll see him get stuffed on a dunk opportunity the very next play. This guy's got so much confidence driving to the lane. And I tell you what, if he's going for the poster, I think he gets a poster 1 out of every 5 times he goes up.
That's
he's on the opposite end almost every time. But when he gets it, then it gets the crowd engaged.
Yeah. When he gets it, it gets you up off your feet for sure.
Yep. And then we're going to talk about it. Obviously, Lamont left early in this game. You felt his presence throughout the first half, and obviously, right after he went down, 6 points in this game, 3 of 6 shooting, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, no turnovers. Just in general, I thought this was one of Lamont's better games that he had played, even going back before the injury for some time. It was good to see, obviously he set the tone for the game. You were talking all this garbage about Zakai Ziegler and Lamont Butler being his dad, all of this. And then, It happened very first
First
play.
for
I don't think I've seen I don't think I've seen you that happy in quite some time. Just to know that you were right in that instance. But you saw the difference in this team when he went out. They went almost on an instant run, and really, like even just the snow, there wasn't too many people out. Just at the bar that we were at watching the game, the energy kind of died a little bit. We were riding that high.
yeah.
He goes down, everybody starts holding their breath, and it's obviously the shoulder. He falls right on it. Lamont's a big piece of this team. What did you think about his first 20 minutes and thinking about, potentially down the line?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's so important to this team. I mean, when you look at it on paper, Zakai Ziegler had a solid game. 17 points, 7 for 11 from the field, but like I didn't feel like he was a factor when Lamont was out there and on him. I mean, I was telling you, I felt like Lamont was going to eat his lunch, and then for the first play to rip that away, I don't know if I've ever been so excited on the first play of a game than I was on that. I couldn't help myself. But yeah, I thought he played really well. He got to the rim, finished. Those 6 points I felt like were all just good takes that, he didn't really force anything. Obviously with a shoulder injury, like, the shot's going to be affected for a little bit. So, whenever he gets back, hopefully he can kind of get back in and, be a threat from the 3-point line, right? I don't think anybody expects him to be, Kobe Bray or Jackson Robinson, but you'd like to see him get back to making some and being a threat out there. And then, I mean, just going forward, like, Pope talks about it. It sounds like he's going to miss at least a few games. The big thing for me is just hopefully we have him ready to go for March, because you just see how different this team is with and without Lamont Butler.
Yeah, it seems like honestly it's just an energy thing. Like I don't
Yeah.
even necessarily think they play that much better defense. Obviously, it looks better because we played Tennessee, who's one of the worst offenses in the country. But the energy that he just brings this team, just you see it. I mean, you even saw it from Trent Noah. It trickled down to guys like that. Even though we've never really questioned Trent's effort, he's been one of those guys as well. But like you mentioned with Ortega, he comes in with an extra level of confidence. He can take the second best on ball scorer. And it really just trickles down the entire lineup. And I think you kind of see that confidence that he breathes into everybody else. So hopefully the injury isn't keeping him out long. But I know, like some of Pope's statements, looking towards March, which can we stop with the phrase looking towards March? Man, I thought we were done with that.
Well, it's a little different when you're talking about a player injury. I mean, at least we're not here, and I haven't seen him or anything like that. So I take all the transparency that Pope's given us. But yeah, I mean, these next like 4 games, on paper you're playing teams you can beat, but man, if you're without Jackson and Lamont for that stretch, it's obviously going to be tough. But hey, they found a way to close out against a very good Tennessee defense, and we scored buckets down the stretch this time. It wasn't like last time where we went 5 minutes without a field goal. So, I mean, we made the plays down the stretch. Tennessee flat out didn't. But yeah, you gotta have Lamont ready to go for March. And if that's what we're looking forward towards March, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and if those two guys are going to be out, we're going to have to get more minutes from Andrew Carr. Right now, he's only able to give you 19 minutes in this game. Obviously, you can tell the back is still limiting him. Only 2 points, 2 rebounds, 0 for 3 from the floor, and 2 turnovers. Really wasn't a very good game from Andrew Carr. You can kind of tell his limited mobility right now. He's never been the best athlete regardless. But you can see the limitations that he's got right now with that back. Still wearing the heating pad on the sidelines. What do you think about Andrew Carr? You think this is going to be something we're going to have to ride through the rest of the season with?
Yep, that's what I was about to say, especially after last night. Like, I'm almost more concerned injury-wise with Andrew Carr than I am with Lamont or Jackson. I feel like if you give Lamont or Jackson, 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off, whatever it'll end up being, they'll come back and they'll be, the back's so much different, right? Like, everything hurts when you have a bad back. I mean, just everything. It'll affect your jump shot. It'll affect, you wanting to bang guys in the post. It'll affect, like with a bad back, everything, that's going to bother every aspect of your game. It's going to affect your jump shot. It's going to affect what you do in the low post. You're not going to probably be as physical going for rebounds, and then obviously like the lateral quickness. And like a back is just, you see it, you hear people that deal with back injuries, they don't get better quickly. So I think this is something that unfortunately is going to linger. And what stinks is Andrew Carr was so important to this team early in the year. I just think we're just going to have to play him limited minutes and kind of hope he can give you whatever he can give you down the stretch, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it heals up and he's back to what he was, at Gonzaga, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like in normal years, with the SEC, you think maybe, hey, there's a Saturday game we play LSU, and LSU's horrible this year. We can kind of just rest them that game, get them a full week off. But like you said, like we've mentioned previously, this SEC is ridiculous. There's a chance for 4 potential 1 seeds to be from the same conference, which is
that might have died last night when the Cats played them.
It probably did, but SEC, Tennessee still got chances to make that game up. But I mean, like you mentioned, Andrew Carr, he's especially offensively, without Jackson specifically, you need those points coming from somewhere. You'd like for Andrew Carr to be a part of that, because I don't know how much you're going to be able to rely on getting 8 points like you did from Travis Perry in this game, who was 3 of 4 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. And I mean, speaking of Travis, I mean, really, the parts where I was surprised about, we know he can shoot. You obviously feel good when he shoots it, but taking a guy off the dribble.
Yep. He's done it, I feel like, a time or two this year. Nothing obviously consistent, but one of his, I think, his best games so far on the year. There were a couple times he got beat defensively, but that's always going to happen with him. But I honestly thought for the most part it wasn't like he was like some huge liability out there. I thought he was really consistent, and he made a couple big threes. The big thing for me was only 1 turnover in 12 minutes, and he's playing, dominating the ball coming up the court when he wasn't. And for him to be able to take care of the ball against the best defense in the country and go 3 of 4 from the floor, I mean, that's an extremely solid game in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, we're happy with how Travis Perry played, and even his plus-minus in the game was still -9.
Yeah.
So we're really just looking for good minutes and him to be able to put the ball in the basket, at least give you that scoring threat, because like we just mentioned, you're going to need to find guys to score without Jackson and Lamont.
Right.
And, speaking of the plus-minus, Brandon Garrison once again finds himself in the negatives, even though his running mates, Andrew Carr and Amari Williams, both finished +16. Brandon Garrison, -4 this game, 5 points, 5 boards, 2 of 5 from the field, and 1 of 3 from 3. 2 turnovers in this game as well. I mean, even when you just look at BG's stat line, for the most part, it looks good until you just sit there and actually watch the game. It just completely changes when Amari Williams goes out of this game and Brandon Garrison comes in. And even usually, you see some of that reflect onto Andrew Carr's plus-minus. In this game, it didn't even reflect that. When we were going with just Brandon Garrison, you saw how much different this team was.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, let's be real. I had some beverages last night and maybe, had some not so nice words in regards to Brandon Garrison's effort at times and performance. I might have gotten a little upset. But yeah, I mean, to your point, like on paper, stat line, you would think BG played okay, but then you look at it, all the stuff I was talking about, like Amari affects the game in ways that don't show up on the stats. That's not the case for Garrison. There was countless layups where, Ziegler's getting by Travis Perry, and he's just not putting a hand up. And, as a 6'10", 6'11" big man, when you have one of the best driving point guards in the country on the floor, and you got Travis Perry guarding him, you have to know you're going to have to help, and, you're going to have to try to be a rim protector. And I don't even care if you go up there and just foul the hell out of him. Do something other than just stand there with your hands down and let the 5'9" guy make a uncontested layup. It's inexcusable. And I know he played okay Saturday, but he's playing what? One good game out of every 7 or 8, it feels like. It's effort. It's just inexcusable mistakes.
I mean, even the game on Saturday, his plus-minus wasn't even that high, even when he did score and was a threat in that way, and he only had 1 rebound in that game. Yeah. So even when we're talking about his good games, I just think we need him to do things that he's either not willing to or just can't do in general. He can't traffic rebound at the moment. He's not putting a body on anybody. And if he's going to be your 6'10", 6'11", post defense, he might be worse than Andrew Carr at this point. Like it's getting to that point where you just know if you have Brandon Garrison and Travis Perry in a pick and roll spot, I mean, I'm putting at the minimum 3 points on the board because there's either going to be an and one foul or something. I mean, I just can't think of a worse matchup to have. Travis Perry and Brandon Garrison on a pick and roll defense.
Yeah, I think part of Perry's like -9 was in part because there were a couple times where there was just too many of those guys on the floor altogether. But yeah, I mean BG, like I didn't think, especially early in the year, like I thought our biggest drop off would be like when Lamont or Jackson come out of the game, but like it's clearly just Amari Williams. Like I remember talking before the season started, and I was like, yeah, I expect both of them to play right about 20 minutes, and they are, but like now I hate it. Like you got to play Amari more because like realistically, like Brandon Garrison should just be giving you like 10 minutes a game.
Yeah, especially if we were fully healthy with Andrew Carr playing more than 19 minutes as well. I mean, at least in this game, there's a little bit of reasoning for why Amari only played that 22 minutes. But, I mean, we've got to get to the point where he's playing. I mean, I feel like we've been begging for it on this podcast week in, week out. So at least stretching to like the 25, 28-minute marks. And I don't think any time in SEC, I think the most he's gotten is 26. Yeah. I'd love to see what this team does when you get to the under 16 timeout in the first half. And Amari's not the first guy pulled off the floor because he could have 8 and 8 at that point. It doesn't matter. Pope's pulling him off the floor after that timeout.
I agree. If he's not in foul trouble, and like obviously, I don't think Amari is like in the condition to go out and play 35, 38 minutes, but like there's no reason he can't get close to 30. And 4 minutes into the game, there's no reason to already be going to BG if Amari's not in any kind of foul trouble. I will say, I think I screamed no when he shot it, but he did hit that huge. He did have a big three in the second half, so I'll give him his one props there.
Yeah, I mean he also still did miss too, so he was only shooting 33% from the day. And do I think a recipe for success for
I
Wildcats moving forward is BG shooting 3 threes a game?
I agree.
I do not, but I mean, like kind of like what you mentioned with Amari Williams. I mean, you're kind of at the point right now with the injuries to even other guys outside of his position. You've got to try and play him 28, 30 minutes just to see what you have, even if it's just to give Andrew Carr less time playing, get that back healed up a little bit more. Because, unfortunately, we hate to say it, but you want a healthy Andrew Carr going into March and, going into the SC tournament and the NCAA tournament. I think that's a way to do it, but it just seems like that's something that's not in the cards for Pope and the staff.
I mean, I would take whatever percent of Andrew Carr this is, 50%, whatever you think it is. I would take it over Brandon Garrison right now, and that shouldn't be the case. He should be better than he is. He's 6'11", athletic. He should be able to make all the plays that frustrate us that he's not making, but he's just not. And I don't know if it's technique, I don't know if it's effort, but there's a glaring problem in his game right now.
Yeah, there really is. But, I mean, speaking of effort and the guy who's just doing all the right things, the Mountain Mamba, Trent Noah, Tyler's favorite. I mean, really showing up here, putting Tom Britton on the map. This guy, 11 points, 3 of 4 from the field, 3 of 4. Obviously, all the shots came from the 3-point line. And then 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Big free throws that he hit down the stretch. 2 rebounds and an assist, and the team high, plus 18 in the plus-minus. Trent Noah was outstanding in this game. Seems like both of his best games of the year have been against Tennessee. He pulled up from the logo in Knoxville and just knocks down 3 threes in this one. I mean, what more could you ask from Trent Noah, a 3-star guy who had obviously wanted to come here, but there was no interest, from Cal or the previous staff on getting him here. Comes in late as a late addition. And I know you and I were not expecting Trent Noah to be playing, 18 minutes with Tennessee, the 5th-ranked team in the country. I think you and I both would have been like, oh, man, what went wrong this season?
Yep.
But Trent Noah continues to impress me.
Absolutely. I think we should just tell Trent Noah that every team we play is from Knoxville. Because, I mean, he must hate them. But, yeah, I'll give Tyler a shout-out because, obviously, we kind of just skipped over him when we were doing our season preview, and we're like, he's not going to play. But as good as that take was from Tyler, I don't know if there was a worse one than him predicting Tennessee to score 92. Um, so
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give him a shout out, but I also got to take a jab at him. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about Trent Noah. Last night, 3 threes in the first half. I mean, plus 18. Only scores 2 points in the second half, but they were two huge free throws at a time where you needed it. It walks up, cool, calm, and collected, knocks them down, and just the effort was there. He's not obviously the best defender like a lot of people on this team, but you know what? He's going to go out there, and when he is out there, he's going to play as hard as he can. And if he's open, I'm as confident with him as just about anybody else on this team. If he's open, let it fly, and I feel good he's going to knock him down.
I'm there with you. I mean, I think, outside of, shot restrictions, I think he's leading the team in percentage on 3-pointers now, even with Kobe Bryant going 50% in this game. And, obviously, Colin Chandler got in the game, actually did have an incredible assist in his 3 minutes. Didn't play too much, played his normal defense that he does. I am kind of, shocked that even with Jackson and Lamont out, Colin only gets 3 minutes, but I mean, I can't argue with it. Obviously, it led to an 11-point win against a number 5 team at your house. But
Yeah.
just any Colin Chandler takes you got?
Not really. I mean, this probably isn't the best game for him because obviously Tennessee can't really score anyway, so it's not like you got to throw somebody out there for a defensive purpose. So, um, right now, like I am kind of to the point going forward, like if you're gonna play two of the freshmen, it should be Travis Perry and Trent Noah, and Trent's obviously earned, you know, to get more of those minutes.
Yeah.
And he's playing the three a lot better than I kind of thought he would. I thought he would you would have to play a small lineup and put him at the four, but he's playing well out on the perimeter. But yeah, Colin, I think can be a really good player here one day. Just he's got to come along somewhat on the offensive side, and I think that's going to be like an off-season jump more so than these last whatever 7 or 8 games we have.
Yeah, obviously, we still have a lot of faith in Colin down the stretch, but it's obvious,
Absolutely.
like you mentioned, it's more of a next year thing. Kind of what we thought both with Travis and Trent. It's kind of the same thing we thought with them.
Yeah,
Obviously,
give him a full off season to get back in basketball shape and just get back to playing organized basketball.
yeah, couldn't agree with you anymore. And I mean, let's just go ahead and let's talk about these injuries and what we're expecting. Going forward. Obviously, it's Wednesday while we're recording. Obviously, we don't have the injury report, but I think we can both assume that Jackson and Lamont are both going to be out for this game on Saturday against Texas. I mean, who do you think is going to slot into the starting lineup with that injury?
I don't really know. It's going to be tough, right? I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if you play a lineup like you saw towards the end of the game. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe Trent Noah gets a start and you run, it's either going to be him or Travis Perry. One of those two I feel like has to start right now. But I could see him going, Brea, Ortega, Noah, Ansley, or Carr, whichever one you want to throw in there, and then obviously Amari. I don't know. What are you thinking of? That's what I feel like they got to do.
Yeah, I think Trent's kind of deserving of that role right now. I mean, at the least, he's giving you that consistent effort and, worthy of at least, getting the shot to start in this game. Obviously, we're not sitting here pounding the table for 20-plus minutes for Trent. But, I mean, you got to get a guy who's going to be able to score. You got to replace those Jackson Robinson minutes.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, outside of Kobe Brea, who is probably going to be your number one ball handler, him and Amari in this game, Trent's probably the guy I want to take over that Jackson role, to be able to get shots up from behind the arc. I mean, so far he hasn't really been able to create his own shot, but we also haven't put him in a situation like that either. So I do agree with you. I do think, obviously, just because of the fact that we're down 3 guards in this game, I do think Trent Noah deserves a look in the starting lineup. Unless you're planning on getting back to a bigger lineup and Andrew Carr is feeling more healthy, then I would say slide Andrew Carr back in.
Yeah, I really don't. I would prefer just to keep Ansley at the 4. So like playing him and Carr together for me and Amari out there, like I think I'm okay on that lineup. But we'll see. We'll see what Pope does. I mean, as far as what to expect, where can we go from here? I'm just gonna assume you're gonna go 2 weeks without both of those guys, and then hopefully I'm surprised, but like hopefully they're both back by Auburn or at least one of them. So when I'm looking at it, you got 4 games. You got at Texas, Vandy at home, at Bama, and at Oklahoma. So 3 games on the road, 3 tough opponents on the road, and you got Vandy, who obviously beat you in Nashville. My big hope for these next 2 weeks, find a way to go 2-2. I don't expect us to beat Bama, especially with all these injuries, but you got to find a way to beat Vandy at home, obviously, and then win either at Texas or at Oklahoma. And then I think you're really right on track. And if you do get those guys back in March, I feel confident of where we're kind of at.
Yeah, I will say one thing. If there's one lineup I do not want to see, and it's the lineup I probably hate the most, I hate seeing Brandon Garrison and Andrew Carr on the court together. I hate it. It's an instant run for the opposition every time they come in off the bench together. That's just the one I don't want to see. I don't mind you trying to see if you can put BG with Amari or seeing if you can put Andrew with Amari. I mean, you saw that work earlier in the season. I hate seeing Andrew Carr and Brandon Garrison come up off the bench because at that point, you get slower, you get worse on the defensive end. You got 2 guys that can somewhat shoot, but not really shoot, and neither one play like post players at all. You're not getting any rebounding from either one of them.
Well,
I just needed to get that little shtick out on the lineup that I hate the most that unfortunately consistently comes in at like 15:54 right underneath the first, 4-minute timeout.
Yeah, I agree completely, especially with Carr not being 100% because you see his offense take such a hit. Like earlier in the year, we saw Carr a lot of get in the post and make big plays. I mean, he did it at Gonzaga, he did it down the stretch against Duke, but like right now, just with the back, there's none of that from him.
Yeah, and I think thinking of everything on the positive, Tennessee game was obviously February 11th. I think you got to at least you have probably your 2 of your easier games for the remaining schedule coming up back to back with Texas and Vanderbilt. Hoping you get one of the 2, Lamont and or Jackson, back for that game against Alabama. That obviously gives you 11 days between the Tennessee game and that Bama game, and obviously a little bit longer for Jackson since he didn't play on Tuesday. If I'm being optimistic, I think that's probably the soonest you can probably expect either one. I'm not sure if you're as optimistic as I am, hopefully getting one of them back, because I think obviously, the chances of beating Bama at Bama with how good they're playing right now are not high, even with both of those guys, let alone missing, both.
Yeah, I mean, they're the number 2 team in the country for a reason, right?
Yep.
And I kind of agree. Obviously, hopefully you get one of them back, but like if they're both close to being ready to return, you may even just sit them out at that Alabama game, right? Like you're going to be an underdog regardless. The bigger game I think would be a few nights later at Oklahoma. Like that's one obviously, they're not playing great right now. You would like to go get that one on the road. So if they're kind of teetering, I would be fine holding them out for that. But yeah, hopefully again, just by March 1st when Auburn rolls in here, you can have both of those guys.
Yeah, it would definitely depend on how these next 2 games go as well, because you could either look up and be 19-7 or 17-9 in those games, and you would need them back if you're 17-9 at that point. Let's go ahead. You got anything else on this game before we switch to the Texas preview?
No, not really. I will say, I think last night kind of solidified Kentucky being in the tournament. Like you probably just got to beat LSU. I think with the amount of quality top 5 teams or top 5 wins, I think last night kind of punched their ticket.
Well, yeah, I mean they still need that extra win, so the ticket's not punched yet. But I get what you're saying. It's a little bit more concrete as of now.
I mean, even at 17 wins, I think there's a case for this team to make the tournament. And I don't know if the committee would do it if you've lost 17 in a row, or 7 in a row down the stretch.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's going to be some 17 win teams get in, and no 17 win team's going to have more quad 1 wins than we will. So.
Yeah. Well, how about we just not speak that into existence anyways, and let's just go ahead and move on.
I'm counting it like, it's the NFL, and now you're watching, and we got the little X by our name, which means a guaranteed wild card.
Well, let's not hope for that. Obviously, we got Texas. Texas has kind of been scrambling as of late. They're 1-4 in their last 5. I mean, they do have big wins this year. I mean, almost like every SEC team does. They beat Texas A&M and Missouri. Obviously, both of those 2 were ranked. Texas on the year 15-11, one of the worst SEC teams in they're not bad. I mean, they got 3 double-digit scorers. What are you looking for in this Texas game?
They have a really good guard, a true freshman, and then obviously a pretty solid big in what's his name? I can't pronounce
Arthur
his
Kaluma.
Kaluma, yeah.
Yep.
And so like those two are obviously going to give you some problems. The one thing, I mean, you're without Jackson and Lamont. The one thing I think this kind of does favor Kentucky a little bit is like Texas is not a good defensive team either. So I mean, you could, there's still a path there to score. I mean, I watched them. I know again we were just talking about how great Bama was, but I watched them in that game when I got home last night, and like they didn't have a single answer. Um, so I if we were fully healthy, I would feel great about this game Saturday. Um, I think I'll probably continue to pick the reverse jinx since it worked so well and it's worked all year.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, if we were healthy, I'd feel really good about it. I still feel that there's obviously a pretty solid path for the Cats to win on Saturday.
I will say I'm worried about Kaluma a lot in this game.
Yeah,
You know, he's
he's
scoring
gonna be a
13
problem.
points a game, shooting 40% from three, and as a 6'7" wing, getting 8 rebounds a game is kind of insane. And I don't think we have a guy on this team to stop that. I don't think Ortega is that guy. Ortega's like 6'4", 6'5". You know, he's got the height advantage there. If I'm pumping the brakes on anything, man, it's really just that I think Kaluma could have 20 plus in this game. That could really will Texas to a win. I'm going to end up picking the Cats to win this game, but man, I could very much see Texas taking this game just based on how Kaluma plays.
I agree, but like kind of like we said going into Tennessee, like Lanier's a guy that's going to give you issues, and he really didn't. So I don't know. Maybe they just find a way to throw enough bodies at him, and who knows? He has one of those games where he's just cold from behind the arc, and you can go down there and get the win. But yeah, are you ready for a score prediction? I guess, or are we to that point?
Well, you know, I need to toot my own horn just a little bit before this. In the Tennessee game, you know, you told me what do we need to do to win. I said 12 to 13 threes, right on the number.
Yep.
How many threes do we hit? 12. Just going to throw it out there, you know, starting to catch a little fire here as of late in the what we need to do to win. The reverse jinxes are working. Maybe the Cats Talk Pod is firing on some cylinders here. Maybe we found the recipe to win some of these games. But, you know, whenever you're ready, tell me how Kentucky can win this game and what your prediction is.
Yeah, I'll toot my own horn, kinda, real quick though, just kinda. If they don't call that horrific, or if they don't take 2 points off the board at halftime, I hit the number of 77 on the head. So, but neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. No, I think it's got to be very similar to Tennessee. Obviously, I think Texas is going to score a little bit more, but you're playing a worse defense, so theoretically the Cats should be able to score as well. The path, I just think it's going to have to be another just very team win essentially. Like I don't think you can really rely on one guy to go out there and drop 25 for you and carry you over the hump. I mean, there's a world where Brea or somebody gets insanely hot from three and makes 5 or 6 of them, but I just think overall Pope's going to have to kind of continue to scheme to get these shooters open, you know, without Lamont out there and without Jackson creating his own shot. So I mean, definitely a path. Again, I'm working on my reverse jinx. I'm going to continue to do it until it backfires. So with that being said, I'll take Texas. I'll say 88-85.
I think Kentucky's going to struggle to score a little bit more in this game just because of the rash of injuries. And you see, we go through stretches where we're getting, you know,
True.
Any three we want, any open three. And then there are stretches where we just can't find any sort of offense or even an open shot. So for that reason, I think just in this game, we are going to struggle a little bit. I'm going to pick the Cats to win, but I'm going to pick it to be a little bit closer towards that Tennessee score. I think it's going to be 77-70. I think Kentucky gets to win.
Love it.
Who's your MVP pick for this game?
I mean, I'll go Kobe. I think it'll be another solid game, but like he's gonna have to make, I think, 4 or 5 threes for us to win.
I mean, especially with those 2 injuries, I think you're getting to a point where you almost 3 is like the minimum that he's got to have to win to get those games. I think just between the two, him and Ansley, I think you got to have, at the minimum, 5 threes between the two while these two guys are out, just to keep things moving at a reasonable pace. With that being said, I'm going to talk about the three-pointers. And obviously, the one guy on the team that's not going to shoot a three. And Amari Williams is going to be my pick in this game. He's going to be a little fed up with this performance in this game, only getting 6 points and not, controlling the glass like he's used to, only 3 rebounds. He comes back, bounces back with a double-double, and really leads this Kentucky team to a win. And we're going to see the same plus-minus effect that we see. And I tell you what, you're getting a call from me as soon as Andrew Carr and Brandon Garrison get subbed in, because if it is, I'm getting upset.
Yeah, well, Saturday night's going to be another night where this guy's going to have some beverages, so I can't guarantee I'll answer, but I'll definitely be getting rowdy and watching them. Real quick, I do want to give, I didn't mention it when we were talking about Ansley, I want to give him a big shout out. That 3 hit in the first half, and then he instantly turns his back and sprints as hard as he can down the floor and, breaks up a full court pass. I mean, just winning plays, man. We were talking about at times with just about everybody on this team, it felt like there were times the effort wasn't there. The effort was obviously there Tuesday night, and that's just a huge winning play. That's the kind of stuff that doesn't show up in the box score after you make a 3, but it contributes to a big win. Yeah,
completely agree. And, don't want this Texas game to be a trap game. I know you can look at it on the schedule and see a 15-11 team that's lost 4 out of their last 5. With the injuries we have and the guys that we need to step up, this has got to be all hands on deck, full team effort, like you said. Yeah. Anything else you're looking for in this Texas game before we sign out of here?
No, just to that point of don't let it be a trap game. You're still everybody's Super Bowl, right? Texas doesn't give a damn that you got 3 players.
The last time we played in Texas, man, that place is going to be rocking regardless.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we played them was in Rupp, the year 2015. I don't remember ever going there. It must have been either before I was born or very young. But yeah, I mean, just 8 o'clock on a Saturday, that place is going to be rocking. You can't overlook it, obviously, and hopefully they get in there and just feel that environment, and it fuels them to another huge win.
Let's take care of a game that we should take care of. We're winning the games we're not supposed to and losing the games that we are supposed to.
I think this is a game that we should win. Do you think with the injuries that Kentucky will be the favorite on the road? I think
they still will, just how bad Texas has been playing as of late. Like we mentioned, lost 4 of their last 5, just lost by 23, and then 8 to Vanderbilt, 8 to Arkansas, and only 3 to Ole Miss. But, I mean, that was the last time they played, theoretically a good game. I still think they'll be a favorite. I'm not saying it's going to be by much, maybe like a 1.5, maybe even be a pick 'em. But I do think Kentucky will be favored in this game.
Yeah, I think this will be a tough one for Vegas to kind of get right, to your point. One team's, really sliding, but obviously still very talented, and the other one's got 3 guards hurt, not playing, and, a couple big men that are banged up. So we'll see.
Yep. With that being said, obviously you can follow us on Instagram, X, TikTok. Get your podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We're everywhere. The TikTok's really starting to take off. We're going to be able to start going live on there here soon.
Cam's going to start posting dance videos.
Post games, yeah. We get to a K. I might dance a little Pink Pony Club. I might dance a little Pink Pony Club if needed. Get us to a K on TikTok, and Boyers and I will set it up, and we'll get a little Pink Pony Club dance for you guys.
Yeah, maybe even a little karaoke.
Maybe even, you never know what you can get us into. Get us a couple beverages, and we'll have a great time. With that being said, Cats need a win on Saturday. Get to 18-7. Take care of Texas. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.